Oral questions, questions orales. The official opposition chief whip.
Before the election, the Prime Minister said that it was elbows up. That was his solution to save Canadian jobs. After the election, it was elbows down, and since then, he's been flying all around. He met with the Chinese and raised and after that meeting, they raised tariffs on Canadian farmers and seafood. He met with the Americans, and after that meeting, they raised tariffs on higher on Canadian lumber. He met with the British, and they said no, they're not dropping the tariffs on Canadian beef. He's elbows up, elbows down. He's flying all around, and it's cost 86,000 Canadians their jobs. Everywhere he goes, things get worse. When will the Prime Minister just stop? Park the jet before he costs more Canadians jobs.
The government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, this idea that the Prime Minister is flying around the world without bringing back to Canada productive results is a ludicrous one. We've signed landmark agreements in Europe. We've signed landmark agreements in Asia. We've gone to Mexico, signed landmark agreements with the administration there. This Prime Minister is active. He's out there building export markets. He's out there building opportunities for Canadians. He's building Canada strong, Mr. Speaker.
The official opposition chief whip.
The Prime Minister promised that he was going to fix the disaster that Justin Trudeau left, but 86,000 Canadians have lost their jobs since this Prime Minister took office. Just this last week, 900 Calgarians lost their job at Imperial Oil. 300 jobs are threatened at Cap Paper, and GM has announced that it's moving jobs from Oshawa back to the United States. This Prime Minister was elbows up, elbows down, flying all around. This guy promised that he was going to be different than Justin Trudeau, but just like Trudeau, he's been jet-setting, talking to fancy people, taking care of his Liberal friends, while Canadians are losing their jobs. Why won't this guy admit that he's just like Justin Trudeau, just another Liberal?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Industry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's for the exact reason that we are doing the work of going around the world to attract new investment and to do these major deals. We are always going to stand on the side of Canadian workers and Canadian employers. That's why we put together one of the most comprehensive response funds with a strategic response fund of $5 billion. We will always be there for Canadian workers and Canadian businesses.
Member for Barrie South Innisfil.
Well, as impossible as it may seem, things are worse under this Prime Minister than they were under Justin Trudeau. And while those connected to the Prime Minister, his corporate buddies, Liberal-connected insiders, and lobbyists are doing just fine, 86,000 Canadians have lost their jobs since he became the Prime Minister. Canada now has the second highest unemployment rate in the G7. Our productivity as a country is nearing developing nation status. Why are the policies of the Prime Minister designed to benefit his corporate buddies and Liberal insiders while Canadians pay the price?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday the Minister of Health announced that now 5 million Canadians are getting affordable dental care in this country. And in my own riding, I just want to tell you the story of one individual I met just before the last election. In fact, he had just had his teeth fixed after 20 years of not having a plan. This fully employed worker did not have benefits that could provide for him to have oral health. And you know what, Mr. Speaker? What he said to me is, I sure hope you win again so that I can get my lower teeth fixed. And that's exactly what we did for this man, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Barrie South Innisfil.
And they're also checking the stock price of Brookfield-related companies. Nearly $60 billion in investment has fled the country, mostly to the place where the Prime Minister has 93% of his investments in the United States. He promised he would handle Trump and negotiate a win by July 16th. Then it was July 21st, then August 1st. It's October 3rd. He promised strength but has shown weakness. Oshawa, Kapuskasing, and Calgary have all been devastated with job losses this week. How many more families need to lose their jobs and businesses close before the Prime Minister wakes up to the reality that what he's doing isn't working?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I would simply point out to the member, Canada's economy continues to grow, wages continue to grow, interest rates are down, and this Prime Minister is creating opportunities for Canadians in export markets, and he's creating opportunities for Canadians here at home. We're going to be building major projects. We're going to be building them with Canadian steel, Canadian aluminum, Canadian lumber, with Canadian skilled trades, men and women, Mr. Speaker. This Prime Minister is on the job, on the economy. The Conservatives need to wake up to that.
The honourable member for Louise Saint-Laurent Akewenrak. Well, Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister said that he would have a winning agreement with the U.S. by July 21st, but that didn't happen. Then he said he would do it by August 1st. That didn't work either. All of these promises failed, and the result is that today, 86,000 Canadians have lost their jobs. Is this because of the Prime Minister's diplomatic failures or because of his job-killing economic policies? The Honourable Government House Leader. Well, Mr. Speaker, Canadians have just chosen a Prime Minister and government that they felt were the best to stand up for Canada. And we have announced agreements with Europe, with Asia, with Mexico. And yes, the Prime Minister will be visiting Washington next week in order to continue the difficult negotiation process with the U.S. And I know that Canadians have placed their trust in our Prime Minister. The honourable member. Well, all right, let's talk about the Prime Minister indeed. He was elected 6 months ago, saying elbows up. But what happened when he went to the White House? It was elbows down and thumbs up to Mr. Trump. And now, things have gotten even worse, Mr. Speaker. The reality is that Canadians were scanned by this Prime Minister who said elbows up. Tariffs have doubled since this Prime Minister has been here. 86,000 jobs have been lost. That's what's happened to Canadians. Will this government finally wake up and help Canadian workers? The Honourable Minister of Canadian Identity and Culture. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to remind my honourable colleague that out of all the countries in the world, it is Canada that has the best agreement and the lowest tariffs with the U.S. 86% of our economy is exempt from U.S. tariffs. Canadians who are watching today know that the situation with the U.S. is currently complex, but that nonetheless, we are the country that is doing best. Every month since the beginning of the year, Canadian salaries have increased faster than the cost of living. The Prime Minister is the person who's going to help us with these challenges. The Honourable Member for Gaspésie-Lisi-de-la-Madeleine-Listigouche. Mr. Speaker, we have catastrophic news for our forestry industry. Donald Trump has just announced further tariffs, further 10% tariffs on our lumber, in addition to the current illegal tariffs of 35%. And on top of that, the Liberals announced some assistance at the beginning of August, but actually that money has never arrived. Unifor is asking the federal government to do something. Their Quebec leader has said, it's an emergency now, not in 2 weeks. When will the federal government finally support our forestry industry? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Industry. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Minister of Industry and the other ministers are fighting for our workers, including in the softwood lumber sector. We are holding a number of meetings with important stakeholders. We have ensured that we have strategic response funds set aside. We will be supporting businesses, workers, and we will always stand up for our companies and workers. The Honourable Member. Mr. Speaker, I hope that the Prime Minister's trip to Washington next week will be more fruitful than his previous ones, because up until now, Canada's negotiating tactics have been so bad that it's easier for European wood to get to the U.S. than Quebec lumber. Meanwhile, the assistance that Ottawa promised has not been sent out. The industry is in danger. The price of lumber has decreased by 15% over the summer. Even for businesses that do not do business in the U.S., our sawmills are losing money even when they sell internally. When will the federal government finally send this assistance? The Honourable Government House Leader. Indeed, this is a very difficult period for our exporting softwood lumber companies. That's been the case for some time. We think that the tariffs and measures taken by our neighbors to the south are wrong and bad for consumers, American consumers. We will always stand up for our forestry sector in my own region. And in Pontiac and Maniwaki, workers are being affected. We will always stand up for our workers and for our forestry industry. The Honourable Member for Saint-Hyacinthe Bagot Acton. Mr. Speaker, in June, the Prime Minister said he would have an agreement with Donald Trump within 30 days. But since there has just been failure after failure, we have new tariffs on our softwood lumber. There are discussions about bringing in more American dairy to the country. Ottawa removed the digital services tax, and it also backed down on the global minimum tax for American giants in tax havens. Failure after failure. The Prime Minister is supposed to meet with Donald Trump on Tuesday. He cannot come back to Canada with more failures. What will he bring back from Washington? Mr. Speaker, we have always said that we will work very, very hard to create good agreements with the U.S., and we believe that their measures on the forestry sector and in the area of tariffs in general are completely unjustified. The Prime Minister will be visiting the White House next week to continue the negotiating process, and Canadians can place their trust in our Prime Minister and our diplomatic team, as well as our Canada-U.S. Minister. They will be working hard to create agreements that will guarantee our economic future.
Bill C-75, the Liberal soft on crime bill, allows violent offenders to be released on bail. These offenders aren't being punished. The good people of Canada are. My community of Haldimand, Norfolk is still heartbroken over the murder of 28-year-old Greg Purcell, constable at work, who was killed by the violent offender released on bail. The Prime Minister promised to reverse Liberal bail laws. Will he finally keep his word or get out of the way so that Conservatives can fix this crime mess?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, we recognize the seriousness of intimate partner violence. Addressing it requires tough laws and thoughtful laws developed with survivors, communities, and all levels of government to achieve real solutions. With Bill C-75, we strengthened Canada's response to IPV by defining intimate partner in the criminal code, creating a reverse onus for repeat offenders, and ensuring judges consider prior convictions. Penalties are higher for repeat IPV, and it is shameful that the Conservatives want to repeal this progress.
The Honourable Member for Haldimand, Norfolk.
Mr. Speaker, my question was about a constable, a police officer that was killed in the line of duty, and it wasn't answered. Mr. Speaker, this Prime Minister promised to fix the justice system, to fix the bail system, and every day victims continue to die. Gun crimes are up 130% under the Liberal bail laws. Lives are at stake, and Canadians cannot wait another day. If Liberals are serious about bail reform, why aren't they supporting our common sense Conservative Bill 242, the Jail Not Bail Act? When will the Liberals scrap the failed bail laws or get out of the way so that Conservatives can do it?
That's right. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, it is encouraging to see that there is an alignment between the Conservatives opposition and this newly elected Liberal government when it comes to improving public safety, including through the adoption of stronger laws to building safer communities. I have good news for my colleagues. The Minister of Justice will be introducing new legislation this parliamentary session to strengthen bail reform in this country and to have harsher sanctions for violent repeat offenders, to make sure that we have the support to help communities safe and direct investments in law enforcement. They want to do the work. We want their support.
The Honourable Member for Cariboo Prince George.
Business owners in my province feel like they're under siege. Break-ins, theft, arson, smashed windows, extortion, open drug use. Prolific offenders are wreaking havoc on our streets. In Kelowna, a recent report reveals that just 15 criminals are responsible for over 1,300 police reports in 2024. The Liberals' catch-and-release C-75 forces courts to release violent career criminals at the earliest opportunity under the least onerous conditions. Will the Prime Minister scrap his failed hug-a-thug policies and adopt our Jail Not Bail bill, or will he get out of the way and let Conservatives do it?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Public Safety.
Président, tout le monde au Canada mérite de se sentir en sécurité.
Mr. Speaker, everyone in Canada deserves to feel safe. We have heard from Canadians, and we are taking action. We will take action. We are bringing in reforms to the bail system. We will also bring in more severe sentences for repeat offenders and on violent criminals. And we are acting in our communities to reduce drug trafficking, weapons trafficking, and to get rid of assault weapons. We are listening to Canadians, and we are taking action.
Cariboo Prince George.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister promised bail reform, and he's broken that promise. Last fall, a senior in my riding, Bob Hubbard, returned home to find his home being robbed. When he tried to stop the perpetrators, they ran him over, dragged him down the road, and left him for dead. They were caught the same day and released hours later, while Mr. Hubbard laid in the hospital with life-threatening injuries. That's this Liberal government's legacy. Conservatives are proposing a solution. Will the Prime Minister scrap his failed bail policies or get out of the way so we can do it?
L'honorable secrétaire parlementaire au ministre de la Sécurité publique.
Monsieur le Président.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Mr. Speaker, all of our condolences go out to the victim and his family. This is an intolerable, unacceptable situation, and we will do everything we can to fix the situation. But the Conservatives always seem to have the same solution for every problem. Build more prisons. Always build more prisons. We will do much more than that. We will reform the bail system. We will create harsher sentences. But we will also help our police services, the border services, the RCMP, to ensure that Canadians can feel safe.
The honourable member for Regina Wascana.
Liberal bail has unleashed crime and chaos on our streets. Their law, C-75, requires courts to release violent career criminals at the earliest opportunity under the least onerous conditions. Just 2 weeks ago in Regina, a man under a probation order terrorized a neighborhood by chasing multiple people down the street with a machete. This Prime Minister promised to flip-flop on bail, but his bail laws are still in place 6 months after taking power. Will the Prime Minister scrap Liberal bail, or will he get out of the way and let us do it?
That's right.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, let them do the work. We will take no lessons from the Conservatives' outrageous record on crime legislation. In 2008, tackling violent crime with firearms was struck down in the Noor case. In 2009, the Truth in Sentencing Act was struck down in the Sarah Vazay Mark Hale case. In 2011, ending sentence discounts for multiple murders act overturned in Bisonette, and the list goes on and on and on. Mr. Speaker, let me assure this House that we are working on serious bail reform bill, fully constitutional and strong against repeat violent offenders. This is the
Honourable member for Regina Wascana.
The Prime Minister promised criminal justice reform, but half a year later, he has broken that promise. Liberals are obstructing jail not bail from passing, keeping in place Liberal soft on crime catch and release laws. Because of lax Liberal bail laws, homicides are up nearly 30%, auto theft is up 25%, and sexual assaults up 76%. Today, Conservatives are proposing to pass jail not bail immediately to keep Canadians safe. Will the Liberals scrap their failed bail policies, or will they get out of the way and let Conservatives do it?
Let's do the work.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, we've said it time and time again. Canadians deserve to feel safe in their communities. Our government is cracking down on repeat violent offenders with new legislation to strengthen bail, sentencing, and court efficiency. We are working closely with provinces and territories to reform bail, sentencing, and addressing delays, giving police and prosecutor stronger tools to keep violent offenders off our streets. This is what Canadians elected us to do: improve public safety, restore confidence in the justice system, and ensure violent offenders face real consequences. We're ready to do the work, and we will do it.
The Honourable Member for Bruce Grey, Owen Sound.
Mr. Speaker, as I'm speaking, there's a ceremony going on in Owen Sound paying tribute to Corporal Robert Thomas James Mitchell, who made the supreme sacrifice in Afghanistan 19 years ago today. Over 100,000 Canadians have made the supreme sacrifice in service to Canada. On Remembrance Day in my hometown of Tara, 200 names will be read out. Many ridings have dozens of cenotaphs that request wreaths for Remembrance Day. The Liberals are now telling MPs that FAC will only pay for 2. Veterans Affairs uses the tag Canada Remembers on social media. So why now is the Liberal government choosing to forget our veterans?
Honourable Minister of Veterans Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, I thank the member for his question and I thank him for his service. I remain committed to ensuring that all those who have served and continue to serve are honoured meaningfully and respectfully. Proposed changes for the Wreaths for Parliamentarian program was made with the understanding that MPs would work directly with the Royal Canadian Legion with proceeds supporting their local branches. On learning that the changes could be significantly disruptive to the Remembrance Day, I've instructed my department to revert to the previous format for this year. This Veterans Week, I encourage all Canadians to support their local legions and support the work our veterans have done for this country.
La députée de Côte-Nord.
The honourable member for Côte-Nord, Kawa-Chikamash-Netassinan.
Come on. Order. À l'ordre. La députée, on va recommencer son temps. La députée.
We will start the time over again. The honourable member. Mr. Speaker, over the course of the week, the Prime Minister and the Minister of Labour have been asking Canada Post and the union to get back to the negotiating table to put an end to the general strike. But actually, Mr. Speaker, before this government got involved, there was no strike. Prior to this week, they were negotiating. The union was waiting for the employers to make an offer. And mail was being sent out and distributed. So when will this government recognize that they are the ones who are actually responsible for the Canada Post crisis? The Honourable Minister of Public Services. Well, my colleague seems to have a short memory, Mr. Speaker. Because if we recall, in the end of 2024, there was a Canada Post strike. This labour conflict has been going on for over a year. We need to do something about this organization, which is losing $10 million per day. That's $10 million per day that Canadian taxpayers are paying to keep the lights on at Canada Post. I know the members of the Bloc Québécois have never had to think about balancing a budget. They have the benefit of not having to be serious, but actually we are working in the benefit of all Canadians. The honourable member. Well, Mr. Speaker, I hope the minister is not always as arrogant as he's being right now. We're talking about thousands of workers who may lose their jobs. It's remarkable that this government is asking both parties to get back to the negotiating table when actually the government is the one that caused the problem. What gall? This is entirely the Liberals' fault. We all know that Canada Post's business model needs to be reformed, even if we're not the ones who balance the government's budget. But has this government taken 2 minutes to tell the union what it plans to do? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, I would like to remind my colleague that this labour conflict has been going on for 20 months. If we want to preserve this essential institution, we're going to need to bring in major reforms. Does the Bloc Québécois really think that it's okay to lose $10 million a day? We don't think it's okay, and we don't think it's okay for Canadians. And in addition, many of my colleagues, fellow committee members, are asking for this to be done. We think that it's now essential for the union and the management of Canada Post to come to an agreement in the best interest of everyone.
South Okanagan, West Kootenay.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister promised that he would negotiate a win by July. It's October and Canadians are losing their jobs. Canada has the second highest unemployment in the fastest shrinking economy in the G7. Mills are closing in communities throughout BC, putting hundreds of people out of work. Why are Canadians losing their job? Is it because of the Prime Minister's failed diplomacy abroad? Or is it the job-killing economic policies at home?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Well, Mr. Speaker, look, every time the Conservative Party has had a chance to vote with workers, they voted against them. Whether it's for skills training, whether it's for investment in unions and union training, whether it's for investments in major projects, they vote against these things, Mr. Speaker, time and time and time again. So the member's question is a little hollow, I would say, and Conservative Party members know it too, because in fact, we're sitting on this side of the House because Canadians believe in governments that invest in them, and we'll keep doing that.
The Honourable Member for Sherwood Park for Saskatchewan.
Mr. Speaker, the minister is talking verifiable nonsense. She knows, or she should know, that our platform clearly committed to significant increases in support for union-based training. The minister should listen better, because yesterday business leaders from Toronto came to committee and ripped into this government. They described how 10 years of bad Liberal policies have created worsening structural unemployment. Canada has the second highest unemployment in the fastest shrinking economy in the G7. Will this minister now admit that failing economic policies at home and broken promises on the world stage are causing an unemployment crisis?
That's right.
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Well, unlike the member opposite, Canadians actually understand that there are structural changes in the global economy, and they're counting on a government that will put the investments into their lives, into their workforces, into their training, and into their families to ensure that they get through this tough time, Mr. Speaker. That's what Canadians know. They know that they need a government who believes in them, who believes in their capacity, who empowers them to reach their full potential. And that's why, in the last election, they chose a Liberal government.
The Honourable Member for Sherwood Park for Saskatchewan.
Mr. Speaker, this minister loves self-congratulations, but I have a simple message for her. It's not working. Canadians aren't working because Liberal policies aren't working. And it's simply in the numbers. We have the second highest unemployment rate in the G7. We effectively lost over 100,000 jobs in the last month. Youth employment is at its worst level in 25 years. EI claims among working-age women jumped by 12%, just jumped by 12%. Regardless of their intentions, the facts show that Liberal policies are not working. So when will they change course?
Great question.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, we're not going to accept lectures from that side of the House when the record is actually crystal clear. And under the last Conservative government, Canada lost hundreds of thousands of manufacturing jobs under that Conservative government. Not on our watch, Mr. Speaker. That is why we are building major projects that are going to create tens of thousands of good-paying union jobs right across the country. We are building affordable homes at a scale that we're not going to see. We're creating good union jobs, investing in skills training. Canadians chose a government that's going to move forward on these proposals. That's what we're going to do.
The Honourable Member from North Island, Powell River.
Mr. Speaker, last week it was revealed that Canada's budget deficit under this Liberal government was expected to increase to more than $68 billion, a result of billions more in inflationary spending with no plan whatsoever to pay it back. On top of this, the Prime Minister is now planning to borrow another $250 billion over the next 4 years, almost double what Justin Trudeau was planning. There is no plan for balanced budgets, no sign of fiscal restraint. When will they stop mortgaging our future and get Liberal spending under control?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I know the Conservative leader must be a little insecure about the size of his economic credentials or lack thereof, and I recognize that he won't listen to a former Bank of Canada governor, but maybe he'll try listening to the current one. Last week, the current Bank of Canada governor said our government's plan to diversify trade and invest in large-scale infrastructure was going to help encourage businesses take risks and would help boost productivity and growth. He said, and I quote, "Productivity gains and the higher real incomes that come with them are the only way to make everything more affordable."
The Honourable Member for North Island, Powell River.
$1 billion every single week. That's how much taxpayer money this government is wasting paying interest on the debt. We're now spending more on interest payments than we are on our entire healthcare system, the result of Liberal governments borrowing more money over the past 10 years than every other government in the history of this country combined. And now they want to borrow billions more. When will this Prime Minister stop looking out for the big banks that lend the money and start looking out for the next generation of Canadians? He's sticking with the bill.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Finance.
Speaker, we know that Canada has the lowest effective tariff rate of any country in the world. We have a great credit rating, a AAA credit rating, the lowest net debt to GDP ratio. We can't help it that the opposition leader have no vision for the future of the Canadian economy. It's clear that Canadians understand who does have a vision for the Canadian economy. That's why they voted for this party to run the government. We've cut taxes, moved forward on the first round of major nation-building projects. What did the Conservatives say? when we launched major projects where 10,000.
L'honorable député de Compton-Stanset.
The honourable member for Compton-Stanset. Thank you, Speaker. The government recently announced measures to reduce the bleeding at Canada Post, which is losing $10 million per year. So I'd like to remind the crucial importance of these rural post offices for these communities in terms of maintaining the services and establishing the social linkages. In Compton, Stanset, North Edley, Chartierville, these are under the moratorium. Can the Minister of Government Transformation reassure people from my riding that the essential regions will be maintained in the regions, and what measures will be taken so that the citizens are not deprived of these services? The Honourable Minister of Government Transformation. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank my colleague for the question and for the work she has done upstream to help the government transform Canada Post by making sure that the services are maintained in rural communities. That is fundamental. The objective here, Mr. Speaker, is to allow greater flexibility in the communities that are urban without affecting the services in rural parts of the country. And that is why, Mr. Speaker, I asked Canada Post for a plan to help preserve these services in these regions in the riding of my colleague and across the country in rural parts of the country. And we also have an adaptation program for senior citizens and people with reduced mobility.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberals have unleashed crime and chaos on our streets. Bill C-75 said that repeat offenders need to be released at the earliest possible occasion on the least onerous conditions. Just this week in Kelowna, it was reported that 15 offenders were responsible for over 1,300 police calls. Now, the Liberals promised we would get bail reform. We have seen nothing. Talk about a bait and switch. Conservatives have a common sense plan to scrap Liberal bail reform. Will they get behind us or let us do it for ourselves? Yes or no?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary, the Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, we've said it time and time again, the Minister of Justice will be introducing bail reform legislation this fall, and we hope that if the Conservatives are really serious about doing the work, they will support this new legislation. Let me just remind the opposite member that the reality is that in former C-75, we strengthened Canada's response by defining intimate partner violence in the criminal code and creating a reverse onus for repeat IPV offenders. Canadians deserve a debate based on the facts, and if the Conservatives want to repeal a bail that makes it harder for IPV offenders to get bail, then they should do so and face the backlash from Canadians.
The Honourable Member for Kamloops, Thompson-Nicola.
I can't believe this minister just said that. I actually just tabled a bill that will protect Canadians and victims of intimate partner violence. It's getting debated next week. They should vote for it right away, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, so many Canadians realize these Liberals have broken their promise. They say what they're going to do. You know why they say what they're going to do? Because they haven't done anything. They have done jack squat when it comes to bail. They want to consult, read the newspapers, Mr. Speaker. They need to get out of the way or support Bill 242 so that we can get rid of Liberal bail. Will they support us? Yes or no?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
As the member knows full well, we have legislation, important crime-fighting legislation before this Parliament. He should get behind Bill C-2, the Border Act. Just as my colleague indicated, we will be inviting him to get behind bail reform and measures to prevent intimate partner violence. The problem with Conservative legislation is it always ends at the Supreme Court getting struck down and laughed out of court, Mr. Speaker, because it's against the Constitution, it's against Canadian values, and it's against the things we hold dear in terms of managing the justice system, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Kamloops, Shuswap, Central Rockies.
Liberal bail law C-75 unleashed crime and chaos onto our streets, releasing violent criminals at the earliest opportunity. While out on bail in Kelowna, a man convicted on domestic violence charges just hours before allegedly killed Bailey McCourt with a hammer. This Prime Minister promised Liberals would flip-flop on bail, but the Liberal laws are still in place 6 months after he took power. Will the Prime Minister scrap Liberal bail or get out of the way so Conservatives can get it done?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Public Safety. Mr. Speaker, my condolences to the family of the victim. we condemn this strongly, and of course we want to avoid such situations. Mr. Speaker, we're going to reform the bail system. It is upcoming, and the Conservatives are not doing anything concrete. We're going to make sure that there will be more severe sentencing for repeat offenders and violent offenders, and we're going to hire 1,000 additional staff for the RCMP and 1,000 additional agents at the border, and we're going to reduce. The Honourable Member for Montmorency-Charlevoix. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Canada has long been a country where families can walk in peace on the streets and go to a cafe, go to the gym, and without worrying for their lives. But after 10 years of liberal attacks on our justice system, the country is becoming more and more violent. 55% increase in violent crime, 30% increase in homicides, 76% increase in sexual crimes. Canadians deserve a country with solid laws and severe sentencing. Do the Liberals realize that they have failed to defend our population? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Public Safety. Mr. Speaker, we're taking a whole host of measures to fight against these phenomena, but I'd like to take the opportunity to speak to Mr. Denis Blanchette and Pauline Marois' families. I need to say that we're going to include the weapon used at this incident on the list, and I hope that this will be a little consolation. Mr. Speaker, the safety of Canadians will always be our absolute priority. The Honourable Member for Montmorency-Charlevoix. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Governing is predicting things, and this Liberal government isn't predicting a lot of things. With this legislation, they're going to release the same offenders time after time. Now, when you have someone who breaks their conditions of conditional release 15 times, now what do you expect? And that's exactly what happened in Saint-Jérôme. Someone lost their lives, unfortunately, due to Liberal laxism. When will the Prime Minister realize that their policies are not defending anyone? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Public Safety. Mr. Speaker, my thoughts go to the family of Gabi Renault. No one should need to live through such a tragedy. Gender-based violence doesn't have a place in Canada, and soon we're going to move legislation that will make it harder to get bail for violent offenders, including the murder of women. So we will always side with the victims, Mr. Speaker.
The Prime Minister said that he would be judged by the price of food at grocery stores as to whether or not he was successful. Well, the data is in, and it doesn't look great. Due to the Liberals' hidden food taxes, Canadians are paying more than ever when they look to fill their fridge. The hidden carbon tax applied to the production of food, the hidden plastic tax applied to packaging, and the hidden tax known as inflation applied to everything because of this government's out-of-control spending. All of these things add up, and Canadians are stuck with the bill. Yesterday, Liberals blocked our Conservative motion to make food more affordable by scrapping these taxes. Why are the Liberals so hell-bent on making things tough for Canadians?
The Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, let me be clear from the top. There is no tax on food. Now, Conservatives have obviously forgotten how fixed-income household budgets work. When families save money on their taxes, on gas at the pump, on childcare, on school lunches, on dental checkups, they have more money to spend on groceries. All of these savings are Liberal Party and government initiatives, and all of them have been unanimously opposed by the Conservatives. Why is it that every time Conservatives have a chance to stand up for Canadians, they get weak in the knees?
The Honourable Member for Lethbridge.
I would invite that member to give that same passionate speech and those condescending talking points to the 4 million Canadians lined up at food banks in order to be able to feed their families. It's despicable and you should be ashamed Since this Prime Minister came to power, food prices have only gone up. Food prices are rising twice as fast as they did under the former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Food insecurity is up by 128%, and 1 in 4 Canadians can't even provide for themselves the very basic necessities of life. Meanwhile, the member opposite rolls his eyes and shakes his head as if I'm saying something that doesn't matter to him. Why doesn't this...
The Honourable Secretary of State for Sports. Secretary of State for Sports.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Caring for Canadians means that we're putting forward actual measures that are going to support affordability, and we're also going to be honest with Canadians. We're not going to make up taxes like this made-up make plastic bags free again motion that the Conservatives put forward last week in order to pretend to care about food prices, Mr. Speaker. When they read the Food Bank's report, Mr. Speaker, it'd be really good if they would actually read some of the recommendations, because what the Food Bank's report actually says is we should strengthen our social safety net, build more affordable housing, support programs like dental care and child care, and the programs that are actually supporting lower and middle income families at the grocery store.
The Honourable Member for Saskatoon South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Every single dollar that the Prime Minister spends comes out of the pockets of Canadians in a form of higher Liberal taxes and inflation. The Prime Minister said he would be judged by prices Canadians pay at the grocery store. So a visit to the supermarket confirms sugar is up 19%, strawberries 18%, and even salad dressing up 13%. This week, Liberals voted against our motion to stop taxing food, removing their hidden food taxes. Why?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Secretary of State for Labour.
Mr. Speaker, let's be clear right off the top that there are no hidden taxes on foods and that this is a phantom that's created by the Conservatives. But you know what's true, Mr. Speaker? What's true is the fact that these Conservatives have voted against the very things that are supporting families in my riding that I hear from all the time. There are families who talk about making sure that their kids are getting a good lunch in school. They talk about the dignity of Canadians having access to dental care, 5 million Canadians now. They talk about our tax-free Canada Child benefit, which is helping put groceries on the table. And they talk about affordable child care that's saving families more than $10,000 a year. That is our plan to help families.
The Honourable Member for Chatham-Kent Leamington.
With Thanksgiving just around the corner, let's reflect on some of the costs of the staples of the season. Apples up 13%, sweet potatoes up 8%, chicken up 10%. These increases are a direct result of this government's hidden food taxes. Industrial carbon tax, fuel standards regulations, the plastics ban, and especially inflationary deficits. Given that, what exactly are Canadians supposed to be thankful for this year as they struggle to put a turkey on their table and the necessities in their refrigerator?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Speaker, as all Canadians and indeed the good people of Chatham-Kent Leamington know, there is no tax on food.
The Honourable Member for Hull-Aylmer.
Monsieur le Président, chaque...
Mr. Speaker, every October, Canada, along with its partners in international partners, highlights Cybersecurity Awareness Month. This initiative aims to inform Canadians about the importance of good cybersecurity practices. Can the Parliamentary Secretary inform us about the measures taken by the government to reinforce the cybersecurity of individuals and their companies, businesses, in the face of increasingly sophisticated threats? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Public Safety. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank my colleague from Hull-Aylmer. The Bill C-8 on cybersecurity is debated in the chamber today. The legislation aims to secure essential infrastructure in Canada by aligning telecommunications sector with others, with the other critical sectors in the Canadian economy. With this bill, we'll be able to warn operators so that they can protect their systems when there are threats and they do not fall victim to attempts. So in this month, Awareness Month, I hope that our partners will support us with this bill.
The Prime Minister said he'd be judged by the prices at the grocery store, and I find it interesting these Liberals don't think there's any hidden taxes. There's the industrial carbon tax, the food packaging tax, the second carbon tax, and their inflationary deficits, which makes prices at the grocery store go higher and higher. So why won't these Liberals scrap their hidden carbon taxes so Canadians can afford to put food on the table?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Finance.
So Canadians know there's no tax on food, Mr. Speaker, but what do all the food security experts in the country say? They've been saying for generations, the answer to food insecurity is income security. That means jobs, Mr. Speaker. But get this, when the government announced the first round of major nation-building projects in the country were tens of thousands of good-paying jobs, what did the Conservative leader have to say? He called those jobs pathetic. He called major nation-building projects worth tens of thousands of jobs to Canadians pathetic. You don't want to know what I think is pathetic, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Regina Louvain.
What an idiotic response. 1,000 people just lost jobs.
The member has to watch his words carefully in the House when they are used. I'm just going to ask the member to retract those words, and then he can restart his question.
What a tone-deaf response. 1,000 people lost jobs in Calgary. 86,000 people have lost their jobs under their Liberal failed policies. 35% of people in Saskatchewan are food insecure. So he can go and tell them that he's going to take their jobs with their energy policies. So my question is, will they scrap the hidden carbon tax and maybe have a heart for people that don't have jobs so Canadians can put food on the table?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Secretary of State for Labour.
Mr. Speaker, the member opposite talks about having a heart. Well, let me tell you about having a heart for kids and our national school food program. That program is going to help 500,000 kids across the country. It's going to save parents up to $800 a year. These Conservatives vote against it. But if the member opposite wants to talk turkey and wants to talk about how supply chain costs are coming down, let's talk about how gasoline prices are down right now because we eliminated the carbon tax. Even the Bank of Canada doesn't think that inflation is our core problem right now because they cut interest rates. We're there for families. We're creating jobs. That's our plan.
The Honourable Member for Richmond Arthabaska. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Is the Prime Minister aware that every dollar he's spending is coming out of the pockets of Canadians? Is the Prime Minister aware that Canadians are having to do their budgets and unfortunately they're not making the two ends meet? Does the Prime Minister know that the price of food has only gone up since he became the Prime Minister? Does he know that more than 2 million Canadians are going to food banks every month? Does the Prime Minister know that since the arrival of the new government, 129% increase has happened in food insecurity? The Honourable Member for... Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I understand that my colleague is new to the Conservative Party, but he has learned the tricks, that is to say, repeating the same talking points and the same words used by his colleagues. So, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to tell him one thing. The party that he has joined for more than a decade, they voted against measures that would help Canadians, whether be it programs for children at schools or other programs. They have always voted against these programs, but here in this chamber we believe that we need to grow the services and help Canadians.
Mr. Speaker, as we prepare to mark Veterans Week and Remembrance Day, young Canadians are learning about the invaluable contributions our Canadian Armed Forces have made around the world and here at home. How is the Minister of Veteran Affairs increasing youth engagement this year to help the next generation understand what it means to serve?
The Honourable Minister of Veterans Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, I thank my colleague from Coquitlam, Port Coquitlam, for his question. Last week, I unveiled the 2025 Veterans Week poster at Pinewood Elementary in Delta, BC, joined by members of the 4th Canadian Ranger Patrol and the 39 Canadian Brigade Group. This year's theme, Canadian Armed Forces in the Americas, recognizes CAF's military supports across continents, from national security to disaster relief to humanitarian aid. By helping young people understand more about who serves and why, we inspire the next generation of service and remembrance.
The Honourable Member for Lanark Frontenac.
Mr. Speaker, last week I asked why there is still a 35% tariff on Russian fertilizer, when it is clear that this is not causing a net decline in Russian exports nor a fall in the price paid worldwide for Russian product. In Canada, no meaningful displacement of Russian imports with domestic production has taken place, so the result is that Eastern Canadian farmers pay more for imports from third countries, creating a shortage in their markets, which is then filled by full-price product from Russia. No other G7 country imposes this burden on its farmers. Why does the Liberal government continue to do so?
Honourable Government House Leader. Mr. Speaker, I'm going to withhold more severe judgment. The member may well know there is a war going on between Russia and Ukraine. Canada is an important supplier of potash. Canada will continue to be one of the world's most important suppliers of potash, and the member should well know that the only realistic option to fertilize Canadian fertilizer is Russian or Belarusian fertilizer.
The honourable member for Courtenay Alberni.
Mr. Speaker, farmers have saved and replanted seeds for generations, but this government is proposing changes to plant breeders' rights that threaten this age-old practice. To make matters worse, consultations were scheduled during summer and harvest season when farmers are busiest and least able to respond. Does the Minister of Agriculture support the right of Canada's fruit and vegetable farmers to continue saving and using their own seeds? And will he abandon these reckless and harmful changes?
Parliamentary Secretary to Minister of Agriculture.
Mr. Speaker, I thank my colleague for the question. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency is taking a balanced approach after having consulted more than 100 value chain stakeholders for over 4 years. And following the release of their report that was called What We Heard Report this summer, the CFIA is currently engaging with stakeholders to modernize the regulation system in Canada with all the input from stakeholders. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member for Winnipeg Centre.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberals continue punishing workers for exercising their charter right to fight for fair wages and safe working conditions. How? By abusing Section 107 of Canada's Labour Code, forcing workers back to work. This undermines collective bargaining and the right to strike. From Air Canada to Canada Post, Railways to ports, they side with big corporate executives. If the Liberals stand with workers, will the minister repeal Section 107 of the Canadian Labour Code now?
Minister for Jobs and Families.
Mr. Speaker, this government has supported organized labour in a number of ways, including most recently standing with the Canadian building trades unions as we announced 5 major projects with their full support. We've invested in union training. We've invested in union supports. We've reversed harmful conservative union-busting legislation. Unions know that we're there for them. As the Minister of Labour, I'll work hard to make sure we get the balance right.
This brings an end to question period. I wish to draw the attention of members to the presence in the gallery of the Honourable Ken Cheveldayoff,